Who's heading for AT&T Stadium? Let's find out. This is the Texas High School Football State Semifinals, and these are the picks. Welcome into the picks presented by Visit Arlington, your guide to the Texas High School Football weekend. My name is Greg Tepper of Dave Campbell's Texas Football and TexasFootball.com. Thank you so much for tuning in, and here we are. We're in the state semifinals. We've reached the point where these teams in Class 4A through 2A are now one step away, 48 minutes away from playing on the biggest stage of them all at AT&T Stadium in Arlington next week. And by the way, we've already punched 4 tickets to AT&T Stadium. Congratulations to the Sterling City Eagles and the May Tigers, who will play one another in the 1A Division I state championship next week. And congratulations to the Balmorhea Bears and the Richland Springs Coyotes, who will join them there to take on one another in the 1A Division II state championship. There are 12 more tickets to punch to AT&T Stadium this week, and we're going to go through every game. From 4A down to 2A, we're going to break down every single matchup. So we start in Abilene. 7:30 p.m. Friday night at Anthony Field in Abilene. It's a 4A Division I state semifinal between the Canyon Eagles and the Argyle Eagles. You know, Argyle might be the most solid team in the state. What I mean by that is that I don't know if you can point to one particular thing they do so much better than everyone else, but they're just so sound across the board. They run the ball well. They throw the ball well. They defend well. They do special teams well. That's a credit to Todd Rogers and his staff. And of course, they have the playmakers, right? You know, Cole Kirkpatrick, their outstanding wide receiver, quarterback, CJ Rogers, a running game, a solid defense. Going up against Canyon. Now, Canyon's a terrific story coming out of the Panhandle, and they have a calling card, and that is a hard-nosed, physical defense. Their defense has been really solid, led by Cam Reagan. I have some concerns, though, about their offense. Quarterback Jay DeFore left last week's game with an injury. It sounds like it's going to fall to sophomore quarterback Derek Clements, who was really solid last week in relief of DeFore, but he's going to need to be even more than solid going up against the number 1 team in the state. I do think that Canyon's defense is good enough to keep them in it, but I think Argyle's a little bit too much. I think the Eagles of Argyle, that is, are heading for AT&T Stadium. 7:30 p.m. Friday night at Turner Stadium in Humble. It's the other 4A Division I state semifinal between the Austin LBJ Jaguars and the Lindale Eagles, and 2 first-time state semifinalists and 2 teams that I think have a coach who should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. Jamal Fenner for LBJ has been unbelievable for the Jaguars, and what Chris Cochran has done at Lindale is really amazing. These are 2 stories that are worth celebrating. I mean, these are amazing stories that they are able to be here in this state semifinal. Now they go head-to-head, and there's going to be a lot of talk about the stars in this game because, well, they're awesome. Andrew McCuba and Latrell McCutcheon for LBJ, and on the Lindale side, running back Jordan Jenkins, who has been ridiculous. But I am a lot more interested in the other guys. I'm a lot more interested in the supporting cast, so to speak. Quarterback Oscar Gordon for LBJ, I think, has really grown up in the role. He has been fantastic of late, and I look at a guy like Jacob Seekford, the wide receiver for Lindale, as a potential game breaker in this matchup. This game comes down to defense, and in a lot of ways, I think that this could be a pretty high-scoring affair because both these offenses are hitting on all cylinders. But if this game comes down to defense, I do think LBJ has the edge there. I think this could be a bit of a shootout, but I think the Austin LBJ Jaguars are dancing. Give me LBJ. 7:30 p.m. Friday night at Children's Health Stadium in Prosper. It's a 4A Division II state semifinal between the Graham Steers and the Gilmer Buckeyes. You know, there haven't been many defenses as consistently excellent across the state of Texas as Graham's has this year. They haven't given up more than 21 points in a game this year. J.J. Lee leads an outstanding unit for the Steers. What do they do when they go up against this versatile, dynamic, dangerous attack from Gilmer, led by quarterback Brandon Tennyson and wide receiver Dylan Fluellen? That's a big question in this game. The other side's really interesting too. You know, Gilmer has been a little bit susceptible to teams that run the ball well, and Daniel Gilbertson runs the ball well for Graham. So that's going to be an interesting matchup to keep an eye on. I think this game's really interesting and could go a variety of different ways. And both these teams have played in close games too, so they're not afraid of getting down to the nitty-gritty. In the end, I give Gilmer the slight nod because of their ability to hit big plays, but it's a very slight nod. That said, I think the Buckeyes are heading for AT&T. 7:30 p.m. Friday night at Randall Reed Stadium in Porter. It's a 4A Division II state semifinal between the Carthage Bulldogs and the Wimberley Texans. Go with me. Back to 2019. Wimberley enters the playoffs with 3 losses. They then get white hot. They avenge a loss to Geronimo Navarro. They take on a team that they're supposed to lose to in the state semifinals. Last year it was Silsbee, and then they beat them. Go on to AT&T Stadium to play for a title. Does that sound familiar? Because it's kind of what's happening again right now. Wimberley's white hot, and quarterback Matthew Tippy has been great. They're running the ball really well with Moses Ray, and I think their defense, which has been very, very strong, is starting to play its best ball right now. So here's Carthage. Here's the undisputed number 1 team in 4A Division II who just got done romping China Spring, one of the hottest teams in the state of Texas last week, and they're really running the ball well with Mason Courtney. That offensive line is eating. I mean, right now, the defense for Carthage has been terrific, just like what they did last week against China Spring. And so look, Wimberley's an underdog. Wimberley's going to need some magic to pull off the win. That said, Doug Warren and those Texans got a bag full of magic. They are an outstanding football team, and they have a knack for the dramatic. Do they have enough magic to knock off the number 1 team in the state? I'm going to go with Carthage in this one. 3:15 Friday afternoon at Globe Life Park in Arlington. It's a 3A Division I state semifinal between the Mount Vernon Tigers and the Jim Ned Indians. And raise your hand if you thought this was the semifinal we were going to get. Not me. This is 2 teams that are not expected to be here. Mount Vernon making their first ever trip to the state semifinals, and quarterback Brock Neller is a name to know. He put the team on his back last week in their incredible win over Malakoff, just simply stunning what they've been able to do. And they've won games in interesting ways. They've won defensive battles. They've won high-scoring shootouts. They win a lot of different ways, but they win close games. They've won their last 3 playoff games by a combined 11 points. They're now taking on this Jim Ned squad from out in Tuscola, and they have an outstanding, balanced offense led by running back Xavier Wishart and a strong quarterback in Tate Yardley. I think this game is decided by pace. I think that Jim Ned really wants to keep this score lower than other teams may. Because Mount Vernon probably has more firepower than they do, I think Jim Ned wants to win this game with their defense, which was outstanding in the past couple of weeks. Can they do it again against this high-powered Mount Vernon attack? That's it. I think this game's close. I think it's basically a coin flip at this one. But Mount Vernon has a knack for the dramatic. I think they're able to come up with 1 or 2 plays down the stretch take them to AT&T Stadium. 7 o'clock Thursday at Georgetown ISD Athletic Complex. It is a 3A Division I state semifinal between the Hallettsville Brahmas and the Llano Yellow Jackets, and history being made here. 2 relative newcomers to the stage. Llano has never made the state semifinals before this year. Credit to Coach Matt Green and company. Meanwhile, Hallettsville is in the state semifinals for the first time since 1976. Kind of hard to believe considering how successful they've been. But running back Jonathan Brooks, I mean, what do you say at this point? This kid's on another level. This kid's on another planet right now. I mean, it looked like last week Columbus kind of had him bottled up and had Hallettsville beat, but then he got loose in that second half and made plays down the stretch. Furthermore, that defense held them in it while the offense figured it out. Now they take on Llano in this high-flying attack led by Case Kirkendall. They are playing with a ton of confidence right now, and understandably so. I'm a little bit worried about Llano's running defense, now going up against one of the hottest running teams in the state. Furthermore, I think Hallettsville's defense maybe has a little bit of an edge on Llano's defense. I think this game is close, but I think Hallettsville takes home the win. 4 o'clock Friday at Anthony Field in Abilene. It's a 3A Division II state semifinal between the Gunner Tigers and the Canadian Wildcats. Again, for the 5th consecutive year. Are they tired of playing one another? I know I'm not tired of seeing it because it is an absolute classic every time they get together on this big stage. Now, Gunner has won 3 of the previous 4 meetings, including last year's meeting en route to a state championship game, but there's every reason to expect another classic in this matchup. Look, you look at Canadian and the weapons they have offensively with quarterback Josh Culwell, who's been a real revelation for that squad, running back Hayes Huffstedler, wide receiver Twister Kelton. I think that the defense has been really rock solid all year long. I think this is going to be the biggest test for the Gunner defense, probably since that non-district loss to Pottsboro. How much have Caden Rigsby and company grown up since then? You know, a lot of eyes are going to be on whether or not Canadian can slow down this pistol option attack from Gunter. I mean, they've seen it 5 years in a row now. Can they crack the code and slow them down? Here's why I'm picking Gunter. I think Hudson Graham, their quarterback, has grown up in a big way, and I think he is the key to this game. I think if he has a big game, Gunner's heading for AT&T Stadium. I think this game's really close, as it tends to be. I think it comes down to the wire, as it tends to do. But I think the Tigers go back to AT&T Stadium to defend their crown. 7:30 p.m. Friday night at Trinity Mother Frances Rose Stadium in Tyler. It's a 3A Division II state semifinal between the Waskom Wildcats and the Franklin Lions. This is a rematch of the 2015 3A Division II state championship game at NRG Stadium in Houston. Waskom won that game 33-21, and if you remember, that game ended at like 1 in the morning. I remember very distinctly because I know I had to get up and go cover games the next day. But this is kind of a different Franklin team. That was a bit of a 3 yards in a cloud of dust team. This team is a lot more explosive with Bryson Washington and their outstanding running back Seth Spiller. They run the ball exceptionally well and they break big plays. Going up against Waskom, who, does the same thing. DJ Feaster and Tashawn Hamilton are leading this explosive Waskom attack that has been held under 44 points just twice this season. I think this game has a chance to be a wild shootout. The question is going to be who can come up with the defensive stops when they need it. I think it's a coin flip. I don't really know who's going to win this game, but I'm going to go with Franklin based on the strength of their defense. I think the Lions are heading for AT&T Stadium. 7 o'clock Thursday at Gordonwood Stadium in Brownwood. It's the 2A Division I state semifinal between the Post Antelopes and the Crawford Pirates. And something's got to give here because both of these defenses have been ridiculous. Okay, Post has not allowed double-digit points since their opener in August. And meanwhile, Crawford's allowing just 9 points per game and are coming off one of the most impressive defensive performances of the season last year in shutting out Bosqueville. This running game for Crawford is really grinding behind Breck Chambers, but I think that the advantage for Post here is their offensive diversity with quarterback Sladen Pittman and their running back Ashton Jefferson. Who can crack the code on the other's defense? I think that's a huge question in this one, but Post has more ways to do it. That's why I lean towards the Antelopes. I think the Bold Gold are heading back to AT&T Stadium. 7 o'clock Thursday night at Randall Reed Stadium in Porter. It's a 2A Division I state semifinal between the Shiner Comanches and the Timpson Bears. Shiner got past the Refugio hurdle last week. Well, they better wake up quickly and get over that in a hurry because this Timpson team is absolutely good enough to knock them off if they are sleepwalking. You look at the way that they go about business, running the ball with Braden Courtney and this superstar freshman, Terry Bussey. He is a dynamo. Everywhere they put him, he is going to be a big problem in this game. We know what Shiner's about. They run the ball. They run the ball. They run the ball with Doug Brooks and Dalton Brooks and Ty Palmer and Zane Rhodes, and they grind it out up front, and then they play outstanding defense. That was a virtuoso defensive performance last week. And so I think the advantage for Shiner is up front. I think that they're going to have an advantage in the trenches. I think that Shiner's probably seen a team like Timpson before. I'm not sure Timpson's seen a team like Shiner. That's why I think the Comanches take home the victory. 7 o'clock Thursday night at Lions Stadium in Vernon. It's a 2A Division II state semifinal between the Wellington Skyrockets and the Windthorst Trojans. And this is kind of a matchup where two teams are looking in the mirror. These are two teams that I think are really similarly paced, similarly structured, and similarly strong. They both run the ball really well. They both play solid defense. They're both kind of hard-charging, tough-nosed teams. You look at this Windthorst team with the Belcher cousins, with Cy Belcher, their quarterback, and with Ethan Belcher, their running back. They are a dynamic team. They can beat you in a lot of different ways, and their defense, I think, is starting to play its best ball right now. Wellington got a scare last week against McCamey, down 18-0 before they rallied behind who else? Mark Ramirez. This kid's unbelievable. This kid's unbelievable. He was remarkable as they made their comeback and blew away McCamey there in the second half. And so that is going to be the big question for me is on the defensive side. Who can get the other team out of rhythm? Who can slow down the running game for the other squad? I've gone back and forth in this one, and I even hate putting it on wax because I know that as soon as I stop the record button, I'm going to change my mind. But I think I give the edge to Windthorst because of their offensive diversity and maybe a slight edge defensively. This game's a coin flip. I think it's totally unpredictable, but I think Windthorst gets the win. And 7 o'clock Thursday at the field in Pflugerville, it's a 2A Division II state semifinal between the Mart Panthers and the Falls City Beavers. This is the third consecutive year that these two teams are meeting in the state semifinals, and Mart has taken the previous two. Can Falls City flip the script? We know what they're going to do. They are a hard-charging, run-first team with Cole Thomas and Grant Gendrish. This is a team that prides itself on toughness, on running game, and on defense. Well, in the past couple of years, when they've played Mart, the difference has been Mart has had a team speed advantage. Can Falls City close that gap a little bit? Furthermore, how do they account for Rodrell Freeman, the stud walking this match for Mart, who has been one of the most dynamic playmakers in the state of Texas. You know, Mart has not been held under 48 points by any 2A team. I do think Falls City can make them work for it, but I'm just not sure that they can keep up offensively, not with the way that Mart is playing right now. I think the Panthers go back to defend their crown. And those are the picks. That's every single state semifinal this weekend. So now you can let me know in the comments very politely, what am I wrong about? Leave comments down below. Don't forget that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/DaveCampbells. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/DaveCampbells. And of course, see us at TexasFootball.com, where you can find complete coverage of the 2020 Texas High School Football Playoffs, including the 5A and 6A playoffs, which start this week at TexasFootball.com/playoffs. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the state semifinals of the Texas High School Football Playoffs. Be safe, wear a mask. We'll see you.